The Pentagon war room fell dead silent when she walked in. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Coffee cups froze halfway to lips. 20 of the Army's most decorated officers sat like statues, their brains struggling to process what they were seeing. She was impossible, the kind of beautiful that made hardened soldiers forget their own names. "No way that's real," Captain Miguel Alvarez whispered to his neighbor. "Has to be a model or something." "Probably lost," muttered Colonel Jonathan Briggs. "Looking for some fashion event." Captain Tyler Vance shot to his feet with a condescending smile. "Excuse me, miss. I think you're in the wrong building. If you're here for a modeling agency casting call, you need to go downtown." The room chuckled. "This is a classified military briefing," Vance continued, his voice dripping with patronizing politeness. "Very serious, very dangerous stuff. Nothing a civilian would understand." "Maybe she's here to ask for directions," Lieutenant Keller called out. "Or looking for the ladies' room," another voice added. Vance stepped forward, blocking her path to the conference table. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is restricted area. Military personnel only." She tilted her head slightly, that perfect smile never wavering. "Military personnel only?" she repeated softly. "That's right, sweetheart. This isn't a place for—" He gestured vaguely at her appearance. "People like you." The room erupted in more laughter. She took one step forward. Vance instinctively stepped back. "Captain Vance," she said, reading his name tag. "Would you like to know what the last person who called me sweetheart is doing right now?" The laughter died. Her briefcase hit the conference table like a gunshot. "He's decomposing in a shallow grave outside Kandahar. Welcome to Quiet Tales Studio. Before we begin this story of deadly assumptions and silent strength, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are." The locks clicked open with military precision. She pulled out a photograph and slammed it down. A bearded terrorist with dead eyes staring at nothing. Omar Naziri, Taliban commander. He also thought I was just a civilian. Called me much worse than sweetheart, actually. Another photo hit the table. Jackson Maxey's, arms dealer. He laughed when he saw me. Said American women were only good for entertainment. She leaned forward, her blue eyes now carrying ice-cold fire. 17 confirmed kills in that compound alone. All because they made the same mistake you just made, Captain. Vance had gone pale. "My name is Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Cross. Navy SEAL Team 6. 43 confirmed kills. Congressional Medal of Honor recipient." She straightened up, smoothed down her uniform. "And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The room was so quiet you could hear hearts beating. General Richard Kane finally found his voice. "Commander Cross, we weren't expecting." "Expecting what, General?" "Someone who looks like me in a JSOC briefing." She pulled out another photograph. This one showed a woman in full combat gear, face painted with camouflage, holding an assault rifle. But the eyes were unmistakable. The same brilliant blue. Afghanistan, 2021. Operation Silent Thunder. I spent 4 months embedded with a Taliban cell, gathering intelligence on their weapons smuggling operation. Another photo. The same woman, but now in traditional Middle Eastern clothing, face partially covered, standing in what looked like a terrorist training camp. Syria, 2022. I infiltrated an ISIS cell posing as a refugee. The operation resulted in the capture of 12 high-value targets. Master Sergeant Robert Hayes, who'd been quiet until now, leaned forward. At 52, he was old enough to have seen 3 wars and wise enough to recognize something the younger soldiers missed. "Commander, that Syria operation. I heard about that. They said someone took out an entire terrorist cell single-handedly." "Not single-handedly, Master Sergeant. I had excellent intelligence support. But yes, I neutralized 17 enemy combatants in that compound. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos. This was taken the morning after, she said, showing him a picture of herself covered in dust and blood, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. And this, she swiped to another photo, was taken at the Medal of Honor ceremony 6 months later. The second photo showed the same woman in dress uniform, standing at attention as a general pinned the medal to her chest. She looked exactly like she did now. Polished, professional, stunning. Same person, gentlemen. Same warrior. The only difference is the setting. Colonel Briggs spoke up. Commander, if you don't mind me asking, how does someone who looks like you become a killer? She finished. Is that what you're asking, Colonel? He nodded, clearly uncomfortable. She walked to the front of the room, her heels clicking against the floor with military precision. Before I joined the Navy, I was Miss California 2018. I spent 2 years learning how to be perfect, how to smile when I wanted to scream, how to look beautiful when I felt like hell, how to make people see exactly what they expected to see. She turned to face the room. The military taught me how to fight, how to shoot, how to kill when necessary. But the pageant circuit? That taught me how to be invisible in plain sight. Captain Vance finally found his voice. But why keep why not cut your hair, tone down the makeup, the hair, the feminine presentation? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Because that would defeat the entire purpose. She pulled out a small device from her briefcase. This is a CIA communications device disguised as a lipstick tube. This, she held up what looked like a designer compact mirror, contains enough C4 explosive to level a small building. And this, she lifted what appeared to be a diamond bracelet, is a garrote wire capable of severing a carotid artery in 8 seconds. She placed them all on the table. Every piece of equipment I carry is designed to look like something a vain, helpless woman would have. Because that's what the enemy expects to see. That's what you expected to see. General Kane leaned back in his chair. Commander, how many successful operations have you completed using this approach? 43 confirmed kills across 14 operations, General. 0 American casualties under my command. 15 high-value targets captured or eliminated. 3 terrorist cells completely dismantled. She let those numbers hang in the air, all because they saw a pretty face instead of a predator. Lieutenant Keller raised his hand tentatively. Ma'am, how does it feel to kill someone who underestimated me? She considered the question seriously. Lieutenant, every enemy I've faced had the opportunity to surrender. Every single one chose to fight instead, convinced that a woman, especially a woman who looks like me, couldn't possibly be a threat. She walked closer to his chair. The last thing Omar Naziri said before I put a blade through his heart was, American women are weak. He died believing that, right up until the moment the light left his eyes. The room was completely silent now. The thing about being underestimated, she continued, is that it's the most powerful weapon you can have. When the enemy doesn't see you coming, when they dismiss you as harmless, when they let their guard down because they think you're just a pretty face. She paused, looking around the room. That's when you strike. Fast, hard, and without mercy. Master Sergeant Hayes spoke up. Commander, what's your current assignment? I'm here to brief you on Operation Nightfall. We have intelligence on Milan Dragovic, an arms dealer operating out of Montenegro. He's selling military-grade weapons to terrorist organizations across the Middle East. She pulled out a surveillance photo of a distinguished man in an expensive suit. He'll be attending a charity gala in Monaco next month. High security, invitation only, surrounded by bodyguards who've spent their careers identifying threats. She placed the photo on the table. He has a documented weakness for American blondes. Specifically, The kind who look like they've never had a care in the world. General Kane nodded slowly. And you're volunteering for this mission? General, I've been volunteering for missions like this since 2016. The only difference is that now you understand what you're looking at. She began packing her materials back into the briefcase. Dragovic thinks American women are decorative objects. His security team will be looking for male operatives, government agents, obvious threats. They won't be looking for someone like me. Captain Alvarez leaned forward. What's the mission objective? Primary. Plant tracking devices on his communication equipment and clone his encrypted hard drives. Secondary. If the opportunity presents itself, eliminate him. She closed the briefcase with a decisive click. The gala is in 3 weeks. I'll need a complete legend, backstory, documentation, the works. I'll be going in as Sarah Winters, daughter of a Texas oil executive, more interested in charity work than geopolitics. General Kane stood up. Commander Cross, you'll have whatever support you need. But I have to ask, are you sure about this? Dragovic is extremely dangerous. She smiled. That same pageant smile, but now they all understood what it really was. General, dangerous men have been underestimating me my entire career. It hasn't worked out well for them. As the meeting began to break up, Captain Vance approached her. Ma'am, I owe you a massive apology. When you walked in here, I made assumptions. You saw exactly what you were supposed to see, Captain. That's not your failure. That's human nature. The difference is what you do with that knowledge now. She shouldered her briefcase. In 6 weeks, you'll be leading soldiers in Afghanistan. You'll encounter women, Afghan women, aid workers, journalists, civilians. Some will be innocent. Some will be trying to kill you and your men. Vance nodded slowly. Your survival might depend on your ability to see past assumptions, to recognize that the most dangerous enemy might be the one you're least likely to suspect. She paused at the door. Oh, and Captain, next time a woman walks into your briefing room, maybe try asking who she is before you tell her where she belongs. 3 weeks later, the Monaco Charity Gala was in full swing. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the laughter of Europe's elite. Among the crowd, a stunning blonde in a silver evening gown moved through the party like she belonged there. Sarah Winters, as she was known to everyone there, was everything Milan Dragovic could want in a woman. Beautiful, charming, seemingly naive about the darker aspects of international business. When she approached him at the bar, he was immediately smitten. Mr. Dragovic, she said with a bright smile, I've heard so much about your work in logistics, was it? He laughed, charmed by her apparent innocence. Something like that, my dear. And what brings a beautiful American to Monte Carlo? Oh, I just love helping people, she gushed, playing the role perfectly. Daddy says I have too big a heart. But when I heard about all the charitable work you do, for the next 2 hours, she played him like a violin, flirted just enough to keep him interested, asked naive questions that made him feel superior, laughed at his jokes with genuine seeming delight. When he suggested they continue their conversation in his private suite, she hesitated just long enough to seem properly modest before agreeing. His bodyguards swept the suite before allowing them entry, but they were looking for weapons, for recording devices, for threats. They weren't looking for a diamond hair clip that was actually a data transfer device, or earrings that contained microcameras, or a bracelet that could slice through flesh and bone. In the suite, Dragovic poured expensive champagne and began to brag about his business dealings. He had no idea that every word was being recorded, that his encrypted laptop was being cloned even as they spoke, that the beautiful woman hanging on his every word was memorizing the location of every weapon, every security camera, every escape route. You know, he said, moving closer to her on the silk sofa, American women are so refreshing, so innocent compared to European women. She smiled that perfect smile. We're just raised differently, I suppose. Yes, you have no idea what the real world is like. What men like me are capable of. No idea at all, she agreed sweetly. That's when his phone buzzed with an urgent message. As he reached for it, she saw her opportunity. The data transfer was complete. The mission was accomplished. But then he made a mistake. You know what, Sarah? He said, his voice taking on a darker tone. I think it's time you learned what happens to beautiful American women who wander too far from home. He reached for something in his jacket, a weapon or a drug or something worse. He never got the chance to find out what. The diamond bracelet came off her wrist in one fluid motion. Before his brain could process what was happening, the hidden wire was around his throat. His bodyguards in the next room heard nothing. No struggle, no cry for help. Just silence. When hotel security found Milan Dragovic the next morning, he was sitting peacefully in his chair, looking like he'd simply fallen asleep. The beautiful American woman was gone, vanished like smoke, leaving behind only a champagne glass with perfect lipstick prints. The encrypted drives his bodyguards found contained evidence of arms deals across 3 continents. Bank records showed payments to terrorist organizations. Communication logs revealed plans for attacks on American targets. But the authorities couldn't question the one witness who might have seen something. Sarah Winters had checked out of her hotel at 3 a.m. and disappeared completely. Back at the Pentagon, in a classified debriefing room, Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Cross sat across from General Kane. Her mission reports spread on the table between them. Dragovic never suspected? The general asked. Never. Right up until the moment I neutralized him. He thought I was just another pretty face impressed by his wealth and power. She pulled out a small recording device. He confessed to everything. Arms deals, terrorist connections, plans for future operations. All because he wanted to impress a woman he saw as harmless. General Kane shook his head. It's remarkable and terrifying. Sir, if I may, that's exactly why this program works. It's not just about individual operations. It's about changing how we think about warfare, about intelligence gathering, about what constitutes a weapon. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the training grounds where soldiers were running drills. Every one of those soldiers is trained to look dangerous. They look like warriors because they are warriors. But sometimes, the mission requires someone who looks like anything but a warrior. And you're saying we need more operators like you? I'm saying we need to expand our definition of what an operator can look like. We're fighting enemies who expect certain things from American military personnel. When we give them something unexpected, we gain an advantage that can't be measured in firepower or technology. She turned back to face him. The future of warfare isn't just about who has the biggest guns, General. It's about who can best adapt, who can most effectively use the enemy's assumptions against them. General Kane nodded thoughtfully. Commander Cross, how would you feel about heading up a new training program, teaching these techniques to a select group of volunteers? She smiled. Not the pageant smile this time, but something genuine and fierce. Sir, I thought you'd never ask. 6 months later, Captain Tyler Vance found himself in a different kind of classroom. Instead of tactical manuals and weapon schematics, the walls were covered with photographs of various individuals, some in military gear, others in business suits, still others in casual clothes. Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Cross said, addressing the room of elite soldiers who'd volunteered for her new program. Welcome to Advanced Psychological Operations Training. For the next 12 weeks, we're going to tear apart everything you think you know about blending in, about reading people, about using their expectations as weapons. She pointed to a photograph of herself in her Miss California crown. This woman won a beauty contest. She spent 2 years learning how to walk in heels, how to apply makeup, how to make people believe she was exactly what she appeared to be. She pointed to another photograph. The same woman, but in full combat gear, face painted with camouflage. This woman has killed 43 enemy combatants in defense of her country. She's dismantled terrorist networks, prevented attacks on American soil, and saved countless lives. She turned to face the class. They're the same person. The question is, which one do you think your enemies would be more afraid of? Captain Vance raised his hand. Ma'am, I think I'm beginning to understand. It's not about being someone else. It's about being so completely yourself that people see only what they expect to see. She nodded approvingly. Exactly, Captain. The most effective disguise isn't a costume. It's the truth presented in a way that people can't process. She walked to the front of the classroom. Over the next 3 months, you're going to learn skills that aren't taught in any other military training program. You're going to learn how to read micro-expressions, how to manipulate social dynamics, how to become the kind of person that people underestimate at their own peril. She paused, looking around the room at the faces of some of America's most elite soldiers. But most importantly, you're going to learn that your greatest strength might be the thing about yourself that you've always considered a weakness. As she began the first lesson, Captain Vance couldn't help but think about that day in the briefing room when he'd made the biggest mistake of his military career and learned the most important lesson of his life. He'd learned that assumptions weren't just dangerous, they could be deadly. And he'd learned that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room was the one you'd never suspect. The one who looked exactly like someone who couldn't hurt a fly. The one who smiled like she meant it, right up until the moment she ended your world. Sometimes a warrior doesn't wear camouflage or carry an obvious weapon. Sometimes she walks into a room wearing designer heels and red lipstick, letting everyone see exactly what they expect to see, right up until it's too late to see anything at all. Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Cross never asked to be underestimated, but she learned to use those assumptions as the most powerful weapon in her arsenal. Because in a world where everyone expects warriors to look a certain way, the most dangerous person you'll ever meet might be the one who looks like she's never had a dangerous day in her life. This story was brought to you by Quiet Tales Studio. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever completely misjudged someone based on their appearance? Someone who turned out to be far more than they seemed? Tell us in the comments what you learned about the danger of assumptions. And if you think stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support Quiet Tales Studio. We'll see you in the next one. Because sometimes, the most important lesson is the one that challenges everything you think you know about strength, about danger, and about the warrior who might be standing right next to you.